What was the weirdest question you got asked on a first date? Do you mean to give off such a strong grandma energy? The guy I was out with asked me this when I was 22. But now I realize that I did give off a strong grandma energy and just lean into it. Do you want to come back to my place and play my mandolin? And then she meant it. I got a 45-minute mandolin lesson at no charge. Dude kind of awkwardly leaned forward after some hours of talking and sort of half whispered, "You're not a furry, right?" He was incredibly relieved when I told him I wasn't. I once went on a date that turned out to be a recruitment for a cult. So I guess being asked to join a cult would be the weird question. This was a few years ago, but I once took a girl out to ask me to buy her an iPhone, and when I laughed it off she told me she was serious. When I said no, she asked if I would buy her a 12-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade, and at this point I was done. Turns out she lied about her age and was only 19. Took her home immediately and blocked her across the board. If I became a quadriplegic, how long would it take for you to leave me? She had lots of others as well, like when was the first time you met a ghost? Depending on your political views. This might not last very long because I'm super opinionated. Oh. Well, okay. What are your political views? I don't wanna talk politics on a first date. Question mark? 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 I went on a first date with a girl who looked up a list of 20 things you shouldn't talk about on a first date. And she went down the list asking me about each one of them. We both answered each question. So religion, political beliefs, past sexual experiences, emotional baggage, relationship with your parents. You name it. We got married a couple years back. Are you broke? While I understand they're probably searching for a stable future. But like, girl, we just met and I'm paying for your food and drinks tonight. Don't pry into my wallet that much yet. This dude told me I had a good wife or a whatever the frick that means, and then he asked me if I'd consider making him my husband. And it wasn't like a cute quirky joke or anything, he was very serious and very odd, and it's probably the most uncomfortable I've ever been. This guy also tried to tell me my severe allergies were all in my head. He said he had a micro penis and enjoyed humiliation. I went to the restroom and ducked out. Some dudes are really strange. If we have a son, would he have a small PP because Eurasian? I didn't even answer the guy. I just left the restaurant and went home. A dude once asked me how many fingers I could fit inside myself within the first 10 minutes of meeting up. So what do you want to do next? Steve? My name is not Steve. Will you be my girlfriend? When I was 20 and in uni, I met a guy off Tinder. We'd only ever really exchanged small talk on there. And he asked this less than 2 hours into the date. He also took a selfie of us and put it on Instagram. I declined. Put it down to either nerves or something. He then got really drunk. Too drunk to walk. But claimed he had no money for a taxi. I lived around the corner and begrudgingly let him crash because I felt responsible if something happened to him. He then tried to convince me to get day drunk with him and skip lectures all day. I declined. It was one of the worst dates I've ever had. I was born with cerebral palsy. It impacts only my legs and is relatively mild. I walk with a pretty pronounced limp. But otherwise I do alright. Used to work in a call center and became fast friends with this woman who worked on my team. Eventually we went on a half-assed date because she was going to be moving across the country in a few weeks. We got talking about my disability and she just up and asks out of nowhere, "What is hanky-panky like for you? Is it difficult? You must have a pretty big PP though. Right?" I was just flabbergasted for a moment and laughed. I said, "Sex is no more difficult than anything else. As for my PP, I guess that depends on your point of reference. I ended up asking her later why she would assume my disability would have granted me a magnum dong, and she just said, I don't know. There's gotta be a trade-off somewhere. We hooked up a few times before she left. Met a girl via online dating. Met up. Midway through coffee she shows me her phone with a picture of an older lady on it. She asks me if I'd have hanky panky with that woman in the right circumstances. Turns out the woman was her mother. She later explained that she wanted to make sure I'd still find her attractive when she's old and looks like her mom. What would you do if I stabbed you? While holding a 3-inch knife. This was right after this dude grabbed me between my legs, over my jeans, and said this is mine. Needless to say there was no second date. I got asked if I would be willing to convert to Judaism. Gal saw a bunch of bananas I had in my kitchen and asked as she rolled her eyes if I ate those things. Met a girl one time to go bowling. Before she got in my car she asked me if it was okay if she brought her bowling ball. Little did I know that she was a state champ bowler 2 years in a row and I got my ass handed to me. If I would have a threesome with her and her gay friend. Like, I could frick her if he could frick me. Seemed like a bit of a bum deal. So I passed. My PP size. Mind you, the date was merely hanging out at my place. And she asked me question in full earshot of my mother. I got asked if I liked boggle. The guy then pulled out a boggle board and proceeded to solo boggle to show me how great he was at boggling. Have you ever had a bad food experience here? Because last time me and my ex were here blah blah blah. Yeah no, please go on for the next 30 minutes about you and your ex's digestive issues. It's not as if I'm missing any productive dates here. The girl in question seemed nice. Until she let her freak flag proudly fly with rapid fire questions of, do you have a high sperm count? And do you special go a huge amount? Also, do you have a large enough penis? Because I need to know you can knock me up easy and early on for many kids. What? So what did you do to cause your ex to cheat on you? Pretty amazing moment in hindsight. Still took her home. Living in China. Get some awkward questions sometimes. Women when they get close to 30 or older don't want to waste any time, so they tend to be very direct. These were all from the same woman on the same date. How tall are you? Why aren't you married? How many girlfriends have you had? Did you love all of them? Why did you break up? Did you have any friends who work in it? Can you introduce me? When I said no, she kept pressuring me because she wanted someone to build a website for her. Probably the worst I've had. But many girls also like to mention how cute a mixed baby would be. On our first date, I dated this ditzy blonde. She said, you're like not one of those pedophile people, are you? My mother once had a blind date that was a total dud. Before he dropped her back home, he brought her around to the trunk of his car and started a sales pitch to try and sell her a set of knives. Actually wasn't a question but an affirmative. She said we'd have babies and live with her parents. Proceeded to have hanky panky and then she asked to nut inside her. No hope. Are you scared of me? I was honestly asked that by a girl. And I really didn't know how to answer her because I was young and a part of me was scared of her lol. She was really cute. Are you like Chinese or something? She proceeded to insist that I must be Chinese for the next 15 minutes. I am. In fact not even a drop Asian. Do you know anything about humanoids? Kinda weird first date material. Not a date but a random dude told me he wants to marry me. I decided to call his bull poop and told him okay let's go. Never seen a dude freak out and run so fast. After I got home I realized I could have made it better if I was to chase after him. What would you do if a gunman came in here and robbed the place? I have Asperger's. Been asked if it's legal to date or have hanky-panky with somebody on the autism spectrum. This was with an ex-classmate. Did you know how massive your boobs used to look in 9th grade? The guys were crazy. First date. Straight out of the blue. He didn't even used to be that good a friend back in school. Poorly paraphrased from a Tom Rhodes bit. I'm on a date and she asks what kind of drugs do you like? And I thought what a refreshing and honest question, and I replied I like weed. And booze. In my younger days I experimented with a lot more. But those days are pretty much behind me, other than maybe the occasional bump. However, once in a while when the time and the company is right, I'm completely down for a mushroom or acid trip. And she looks at me in horror and says, I asked what kind of dogs you like. So not a weird question. But my wife asked me what my favorite sports are. I answered soccer and snooker. Then went on an hour-long explanation of what snooker is. She sat there patiently and listened to me. I can't believe I got a second date. Let alone to marry her years later. She always brings this up though. Will your parents stay with us after we're married? Got asked would you stay the night if I paid you $300? If you're at a bank and the bank got robbed and you got shot in the arm. Are you lucky? Asked by my husband on our first date. Have you masturbated to my pictures on Instagram before? If I was gay. We were both dudes. Same date, he got really angry when I tried to split the bill and freaked out about how he was the man. Also lied about his age. So overall bad experience 0/10. We were in a nice restaurant and after just a few sentences of introduction she asks me, are you a virgin? How many women have you been with? How much experience do you have? It was a very weird date. Before we met for the first time, she asked me what do you sound like? Just genuinely wondered what my voice sounds like. I mean, how do you even answer that? I haven't been on a date in a while. But the weirdest thing a girl told me was, what would you do if I just got up and leave? I just said I would go home and wonder why. How big is your pee-pee? She then grabbed the sole out of my meat. Are you Protestant or Catholic? Within less than 2 minutes of conversation. This might not sound that bad, but we were both from Northern Ireland, so instantly a question like that screams red flag. Would you mind if 2 of my friends join in on the relationship? I sorta made a promise to them, somewhat tempting. Seeing we all were girls. But it had me weird for a while. Supposed to like it when a girl has her way with you? She couldn't take hints to not fondle me in public. How long do you take to come? Are you single? Have you tried cocaine? Do you like it? Maybe we should go to my place and call my drug dealer? 20 minutes into the date. Edit. If he was hot I would have said yes. Obviously. Edit 2. He kind of catfished me, so it was his last move to hope bringing me home. I guess. Had a girl straight up ask me how much money I make. At the time. It wasn't much. Maybe 40k. Which wasn't near her salary as a nurse. She spent a disproportionate amount of time talking about how much money she makes. And how she needs someone that makes enough money to support her and their future kids. Because once she has kids, she's going to be a stay-at-home mom. That was the first. And only date W that girl. What do you mean I have to pay for my own food? I ordered like a $50 meal. She left her ID with a waiter and drove home to get money to pay for her food. Ran in. Threw it at me. And ran out without saying another word. Waiter just looked at me like, damn dude. You don't have a shovel in your trunk or anything, right? Apparently I can come off as a bit of a creeper. Married that one anyways, and now she knows where I keep my shovels. Who did you vote for? Because I hate people who support XXXXX. Are you planning on getting a new car soon? Whips out his used car salesman business card. If I wanted to tie you up, would you think that's sexy? Do you have a church? I'd love to have you come to my church. I want to keep this short. Unless you want to go back to my house and play COD with me and my friends. Like 5 guys still at his house waiting for him to return and play. Holy crap. I need to date a better class of nut jobs.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.